Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video. This time we'll be talking about Bramimond. I'm sorry it's been so late. Honestly, I even had someone asking me whether or not I was going to make a video on this. Be assured I will always get the video out, sometimes a bit later than others when it comes down to banners. Tier lists also, those can take a bit longer as all. But they will typically come out at one point or another. This was supposed to be out on Saturday, but I kind of was done working on the video at 5 AM, and I had to, get ready for a stream at 11 AM on Sunday, so I kind of ended up just going, no. Actually, I tried, and at 7 AM it just was not working anymore. I tried about 6 or 7 times to record, but I kept fucking up way too much, so I just said no. And here we are. Sorry about that. But let's talk about him now, shall we? So, Bramimond really puts in perspective just how bad of a hand they dealt Julia. Holy hell, this weapon is really good, but unlike something like Legendary Chrome, which requires you to deal with, non-armored units. The main problem with Legendary Chrome is that in your hand he won't appear to be so good because he'll always take damage typically, unless you just straight up one-shot because the unit is not green. But when you come against a Legendary Chrome tends to be a lot more annoying because most of the unit that do have DC to deal with him turns out to be armored units. So if you want to have DC on a green unit that can deal with Chrome, you typically have to inherit it to someone else, and that someone else typically also need a great deal of investment, which is not too great. It makes him very expensive to deal with, which is one of the reasons why Rinka is going to be a almost must-have in the upcoming banner, but that's mostly for like high arena player. However, on the other hand, you have units like Bramimond that are actually not too annoying to deal with, because at the end of the day, if you take a Foxdome and you have literally any mage with a decent stat of res, which let's be honest, that's literally most mages out there, and you run TA on them, you'll typically be able to have a counter against Bramimond. He's a lot easier to counter for AA, which is nice. However, it still puts in perspective just how poor a hand Legendary Julia was given. I'll go more into detail about this. First off, let's talk about the kit itself. Stat line wise, he's literally Legendary Julia but colorless. Which already there, that's, some alarm. The other issue I have with him is just the fact that he's dark, and he buffs attack. You'd think that would be, like, at its best on a light or Astra type, especially with this type of stat line he has. You'll see even more what I mean once we get to talk about this in the build section. But his stat line is extremely good for offensive AR. In defensive AR, he's kind of just not as great. This is, though, for the first time, I think, ISS kind of really decided to go into the my res is good enough, I'll build my def up. Remember how, Julie has basically the stat line, but with Mirror Impact for no reason, especially considering Mirror Impact does not really help when you end up with 42 res because of her breath. Yeah, at the very least, Bramimond does something different here. He goes for 2835 instead of 2142, which is a nice improvement, let's be honest. As far as fodder is concerned, he does have really good fodder. Attack Def Push 4 is pretty nice in certain healers' hands. Like Mercedes. Mercedes can use Attack Def Push 4, for example, with Brazen Attack Speed. Brazen and Attack Def Push is kind of a weird mix, but in case of healers it works really good because of Martyr Plus. Sadly, this is not a healer, so push are not very fantastic. But as I said, healers can really abuse push skills, because Martyr will always heal all of the HP you've lost. Meaning, let's say you're at 20 out of 50 health. You are in both the range of Attack Def Push 4 and Brazen Attack Speed 4. What happens if you use Martyr is that your 20 jumps up to 35 out of 50. You're still in range of both, but you healed up. Which makes it very easy overall. Essentially, you basically need to heal at 31? Yeah, 31 HP with Martyr. Actually, no. I'm lying. 32 HP with Martyr. For you to go over the HP threshold of Brazen, which is really good. It's also good for Spring Veronica, because that patches up our defense, which means you can actually then invest in a bit more bulk, especially once Brazen Def Res ever becomes a seal, if that ever will become a thing. Still waiting on Speed Def Bond, by the way. But yeah, you could combo both of those together, or, you know, something somewhat similar. Maybe Def Res Bond with aerobatics for Spring Veronica, because she gets 5 across the board if her HP is over 75%. Yeah, not Brazen, but mostly a Bond. So if you have 5 across the board, the 7 Def from Attack Def Push buffs, you end up being in a very good situation to deal damage and survive, which is quite nice. But yeah. Either way, what else does he have, rather? Low attack res, which is probably one of the best fodder that is on this banner right now. And Impenetrable Dark. Impenetrable Dark, basically, to put it as simple as I can put it, it shuts down Brave Lucina from buffing Brave Ike. It shuts down Drives. It shuts down Marv's weapon. It shuts down Caden's weapon. It shuts down Legendary Ellie Wood. Oh, wait. Actually, I don't know if Legendary Ellie Wood's bonus doubler would be negated, because it's a status effect at that point. Probably not. But yeah, it does negate a good bit of weapons that are very annoying to deal with in terms of support, which makes him really annoying and frustrating to deal with in defense. That said, you'll typically get rid of this because it's in the weirdest, most awkward slot possible. Impenetrable Dark is in the slot you kind of want something like Rest Smoke in. Because the way his weapon works, which I've kind of ignored up to now, the way his weapon works is if the enemy has 50 attack, you get 5 attack def res. If they have 35 speed, you get an extra follow-up. Or more, of course. But there's another chance, and that's just if the enemy has a penalty on them. The thing with penalty is that if you have something like a smoke skill, you're good to go. That's all you need. If you have a smoke skill, especially res smoke, which is way more important to have than attack smoke in some cases. If you want to go for, say, a vantage set, you want res smoke. Attack smoke will not cut it. Because the problem you'll run into with attack smoke is that your enemies will not do enough damage to attack you. So say a dancer would be, instead of attacking you, waiting for someone to move and do a rally, and then dance it to attack you. In which case they won't have a penalty anymore, which means you may lose one of the two effects. So instead, lowering the res so you do one-shot them is probably a lot better. That said, Vantage does essentially lower the damage taken to 0, so it's a give or take part. It's mostly at the start of the enemy phase. Certain characters would not attack otherwise. So there's that. But yeah, overall, the C-scale is kind of important to get penalties on your enemies if you want to have both effects constantly active. Impenetrable Dark is really good, mind you, but Res Smoke is not a seal yet. So unless you run Attack Smoke and you just want to go in from there, it's definitely better to go for Res Smoke in the C skill. So yeah. But yeah, Impenetrable Dark is kind of at least in a good spot, because it's in a C skill, unlike a certain other skill, Light and Dark. Speaking of, let's just move to comparison. I wasn't joking when I was saying they basically have the same stat line. And it's funny because I also mentioned how Legendary Julia runs into the problem of she needs to have speed to do follow-ups, which is something that Duo Ephraim didn't have to struggle with. And it was also an attack check in Legendary Ephraim's case, except Legendary Ephraim's case, he can get outside help, like drives, to get the effect up, whereas Julia cannot for whatever reason, because it's a buff increase. And yeah, it's a very weird position to be in, because Julia will struggle to double, Bramimond won't struggle to double. Julia gets 6 attack and res, Bramimond gets 5 attack, def, and res. Def being a lot more annoying of a stat to get stats in, has more def to begin with, and more attack to begin with, and on top of that doesn't have to deal with colors. And Light and Dark, you know, the skill that Julia has, not being in a B slot, is just a glorified low skill. Given the fact that, you know, low skills are really good, it's still a good skill, but honestly, I really wish low skills were just Cav exclusives. If they were Cav exclusives, first off, we wouldn't have to deal with stuff like Legendary Crom, which basically shuts down 21 points of damage from Blade Tomes. But also, it would mean that Cav would have something unique to them, and also, it would mean Light and Dark would be a lot more impressive of a skill. The fact that Infantry can get low skills mean Light and Dark is just a barely better low skill in quotation. Makes her really good to deal with Blade Tomes, cool, that's kinda it. The effective against Dragon is cute and all, but getting an extra follow-up is way more important than getting 6 attack and res. Especially since, you know, he gets follow-ups on top of 5 attack, on top of 5 def, on top of 5 res. If Julia had gotten 6 attack def res, for example, you could combo this into sturdy impact for a lot more defense, to a point where your defense is in a good spot. You still would not be able to follow up consistently, but you'd at least get somewhere. Bramimond essentially has everything that Julia needed to function, and then some. I don't get it. But yeah, this is kind of what we have here. But yeah, so overall, this is really the only comparison you can really make with Bramimond, because there's not really a whole lot of unit that have a stat line this similar, and he's a colorless unit. So yeah, like, you don't really have other colorless mage at this point. And Julia has a very similar weapon. I really wish Julia just had her B skill integrated in her weapon. That's just all she would have needed, I feel like. But, oh well, maybe that's just me. So, yeah, let's move to builds. As far as build goes, this is pretty standard. The set on the left is what I meant by AR offense. Like, very good AR offense kit. Res Smoke essentially pushes your attack to 78, which is insane. Especially since the weapon pushes that to 83, and then Fierce Stance pushes that to 89. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And not having to deal with any color is also very nice, considering Raven Tomes are strong against it. But nobody runs them, because there's no reason to run them, more often than not. You typically will run them in AA, because in AA it's a lot more, you know, you get to be in a situation where you use them. I use my fucking Bramimond Spring Lucina for the first time in like years last Sunday, because Bramimond Plus is really good against Legendary Leaf. Like, literally, you have 25 defense with TA Blamiraven, you kill a Legendary Leaf. That's how easy he is to counter, and people actually complain about him. I don't understand. Anyway, with that out of my system, this set is basically meant to just do Vantage Kill, Vantage Kill, Vantage Kill. Obviously, I use Ruptured Sky because Moonbow would not be too ideal. Even if you don't have Ruptured Sky, just use Glimmer. The reason why I don't say Moonbow is even a good option is because you're debuffing your enemy's defense through Res Smoke. If you're debuffing their defense, maybe it's better to use a skill that's based off of attack rather than the one that's based off of Def/Res. You know, it's just kind of a given. So yeah, this is just meant to be a one-shot nuke with Vantage. It's pretty good at its work, and honestly, if he was a light mythic, probably would do quite well at it. But he's kind of a dark type, so it's kind of bad for your score. Whatever, it's still an option. As for the set on the right, it's very basic. It's more or less base kit with attack smoke. This kit is mostly meant to be used with dancers, but you do end up with quite a bit of bulk. And also for the set on the left, you do end up at like 46 defense and 50 res. So 36 defense and 50 res. So if you have, say, you know, Marth, because at that point there's no point in having Brave Lucina, Marth or Kaden buffing his defense up, you know, that can be really good, considering you get an extra follow-up because of his weapon very consistently. Especially at plus 10. If you're at plus 10, if you have somebody buffing your speed by 3, right? If you have somebody buffing your speed by 3 or more, if you want to be more on the safe side because you don't have Impenetrable Dark with you, you will double them if they have basically 35 speed, because you'll be at 40 speed. And if they have more than 35 speed, to block you from doubling, the weapon will make you get the double. So that's also a very good option to have. So yeah, it is also worth mentioning, I suppose, you can do fire sweep sets because of the extra follow-up. Any weapon that gives you a bonus follow-up if you get to a certain amount of speed, if you have 5 more speed than the enemy, you get to double them through the sweep effect that blocks you from doing follow-ups. But the enemy doesn't get to counter-attack, which is really good. I thought it was worth mentioning because I did not make sets based on this. But yeah, it's still something worth mentioning. So yeah. Moving on. As I said, the set on the right, this is with Def Plus, because 30 impact. You're at 44-45. The weapon pushes that to 49-50 bulk-wise. Low attack res pushes that to 52 def, 53 res. The enemy doesn't get to buff their attack. You get the idea. While your attack just jump up to 81, which is also pretty good. And the enemy cannot buff against you with drives either. That means their attack, what you see is what you get. They cannot just use drives. They cannot buff themselves because of the low skills. And yeah, all they can buff is their speed and res with active buffs. So yeah, that's pretty solid overall. This is more meant to be with a dancer because you'll want to abuse 30 impact. This is definitely a lot better in defense, like AR defense, because at that point you'll be blocking follow-up, you'll be doubling because of Void Tome. I can do English, yes. But yeah, Void Tome, it will give you a chance of follow-up, and you'll block the enemy follow-up with sturdy impact. And well, I mean, you are looking at 81 attack. The enemy is very likely to be dead, and the second hit will most likely have Ruptured Sky if they do use Distant Counter to attack you, which is quite solid overall. As for the second bunch of builds, well, these are meant to be more all-purpose. Low attack speed here is just to give you the 3 speed you need in battle. This is important. Speed Smoke is not in any of these sets because it just moves the problem. For example, if you're dealing with someone with, let's say, 39 speed. Or actually, no. Let's say you're dealing with someone with 41 speed, right? And you hit them with Speed Smoke. They fall all the way down to 34 speed, so Void Tome does not proc, and you don't get a double because you have more speed than them. With Speed Smoke only. Which is why I put low attack speed here, because it does the -3 speed in combat. So yeah. It also negates speed buffs, but it only does it in combat, meaning you can proc Void Tome, because the effect is at start of combat. Hopefully this is not too confusing to people. I know it can be a bit confusing to some. With Def Plus and Attack Def Bond, you're looking at 39.45. With a low attack speed, you're looking at 42.48. And then with Void Tome, 47.53. Which is pretty good defensively, but also in terms of damage, you're also looking at roughly 77 attack, which is really good. Again, more or less the same one-shot idea, except you'll be also preventing certain doubles from even happening in the first place, which is pretty helpful. And the set on the right is meant to be there more so to heal you. Keep in mind you can just do the same thing with Iceberg if you just want more firepower. But yeah, the idea is just you get hit, you proc. You can also use Attack Def Bond just like the other set. This is just more so meant to be so you're not stuck in a lump with somebody else and Aversa screw you over. I know some people have this as an issue for stuff that is outside of AR. Personally, I find AR maybe once a month in Arena Assault because I score so high, I just don't see her too often. It's typically either a pair-up unit because they do 185 BST, or armored unit because 180 to 185 BST, or pair-up unit because 175 BST, also boosting score of the rest of the team. I don't really see Aversa all that much. But yeah, that's just me. You play a different, well, you don't play a different game, but you play at a different level than I am. I'm kind of just so high that Aversa is not really at my level, because I tend to score 748 to 760 in my case. So finding a 170 stat unit is rare, and if I do see Aversa, typically she has red dual flyer, but then she doesn't have an HP speed 2 skill because that scores too little. So yeah. Anyway. The idea is very simple. You get hit, you proc soul. You kill them either in one hit or on the second hit because of Void Tome. Special Spiral will always make so that soul will be the first thing that procs, because you'll get hit for the last charge, so you get your 3 charge, and then proc soul. This is important because a lot of people seem to not really understand why Soul kinda needs to have Special Spiral with a 3 cooldown. The idea is just that if you proc Soul on the second hit, the enemy's already more or less dead. If they have like 10 HP left and you proc Soul on them, you'll heal for maybe 5. Nobody cares about a heal of 5. However, if I were to heal for say 20 because I've hit for 40 with Soul, that's a lot more interesting. So yeah. That's about all I have to say about those builds. Pretty straightforward character. There's just not really a whole lot to work with in his stat line. His weapon kind of does all the work, and after that it's just boost it to have more damage or boost it to have more bulk. It's really up to you. As far as the banner is concerned, this is the wrong fucking one. Hold on. I was sure I fixed everything, but oops. So, mine is that hiccup. So, when it comes down to this banner, it's not gonna lie, it's actually one of the worst legendary banner we've got. If you're summoning for Bramimond, wait for his return. Colorless is just not really good, unless you actually want to have attack speed push. Because that one can be pretty good in the end of a lot of healers. But if you don't really care about attack speed push, it's really not that great. Grima is pretty not great. She's decent. Decent! If you get 11 copies of her and just, you know, spend about 2,000 orbs on her, on average. You could be luckier. But I'm still going to talk about average instead of the one person out of 100 that gets it in like 500 orbs or whatever. Grima's pretty bad. Camilla has a very awful pref. She has probably the worst pref of any healers. Then again, I mean, you have like Gillar Bra with Bright Fjorm, which is a really good weapon. Then you have good old Brave Veronica, which also has a really good pref. And then you have, my name is Gravity 2.0. Yeah. Ooh, amazing. Ooh. Yeah. Not very amazing. Bramimond's amazing. I don't think he's like the most required unit. As a matter of fact, I've already seen what the stats on the upcoming banners are. Or the banner, rather. Singular. As far as this is concerned, Bramimond is not that needed of a unit. Rinka, on the other hand, first off, is a lot cheaper to get. 135 orbs if you actually just summon everything you see, and then just use the 40 pull to get the spark mechanic, as it were, to get Rinka. Maybe you'll get other things along the way on top of it, so that's cool. Rinka is just a lot more useful in AA, in my opinion, than Bramimond is. But that's just my opinion when it comes down to this. Keep in mind that we're getting like 300 orbs a month. So that means that if you spend 135 orbs there, 135 on the next banner, you'll be able to get the spark mechanic on both and still have orbs to spare. But yeah. Overall, I do think Bramimond is not worth summoning on this banner. Just wait for a better banner, honestly. This banner is not great. And as far as the green pull is concerned, Drazier, I've said this before, she's a decent one-off. But if you're talking about a plus 10 project, Deirdre is cheaper and better overall. Brave Micaiah is solid, but she requires you to make a team around her. Honestly, Brave Micaiah, as far as the green pull is concerned, is easily the best one. I think she's the third year Brave heroes that actually aged the best. Then again, we had 2 duds in Brave Alm and Brave Camilla. I mean, just being honest here, Micaiah actually has a good stat line. And while, you know, the double effectiveness is not that amazing, or needed, really, or really all that great on her, I will stand by the fact that the second effect, that basically is Saizo's Pref, which is to just take the debuff of your enemy and add them to your stats, is amazing. And that's what actually makes her very solid, especially with Sturdy Impact. Memori is a better Legendary Hector, but Legendary Hector is not very amazing to begin with. And I'm saying that as someone that has a plus 10 of it. The dude is good, but he's just like any other armored units. There's nothing amazing about him. That's kind of it. But yeah. When it comes down to green, Brave Micaiah is a good unit. When it comes down to colorless, Bramimond's a good unit. When it comes down to blue, Legendary Tiki is good-ish. I say good-ish because Fallen Korin is not even on Legendary. Could be on a 3-man banner, which have better rate than Legendaries by a mile when it comes down to getting what you want. And colorless. Fallen Tiki also has the same thing. And Fallen Tiki has more or less the same stat as this one, except she also can move 2 squares because of her C's passive. I really like my Legendary Tiki, believe me, I do. But would I plus 10 her now? No. I would just wait for Fallen Korin. If I were to just look from a perspective of non-bias, because I absolutely adore Tiki, I would go for Fallen Korin, but I just really like Tiki, so. Fjorm is in the same predicament as Grima. Very good. It can be pretty decent at high merges, but at low merges, you won't see me sing or praise whatsoever. There's just not much to it. Her stats, every merge she gets counts toward getting stats where it matters. If you are not merged up, you're lacking a lot of stat where it matters, and therefore you're performing a lot worse. Peony is given for free. You don't really need a second one, especially for scoring, because you can just combo Air and Peony. Air actually provides res, which is a lot more helpful than speed anyway. So blue is kind of just a whole of a dud, in my opinion. And then you have red. We just got Altina for free. I guess you might want a second one for more scoring, but let's be honest, there's maybe like 5,000 people in the entire world who cares about that. Most people would only go with one, and that's all they'll care about. Or they already have Naga, or they already just don't give a shit. That's kind of just what it is. Legendary Roy does come with Brave Doubler. Bonus Doubler, which is a really good skill in certain units' hands. Like Brunia can be a really good user of it, for example. So there's that. As far as the unit is concerned, I don't have anything positive to say about him. Even as far as scoring is concerned, I believe Legendary... what is it? Legendary... Celica, I think, is also fire. Yeah, she scores the same, except she has an actual good B skill. She's a good unit overall. Well, good unit. Legendary Olm is kind of just a better version of her, but, I mean, you know, she works. A lot better than Roy, anyway. And then you have Brave Olm, probably the worst Year 3 Brave hero. Which is rare for me to say, because Olm just can't stop getting amazing alts, like Duo, Legendary. His base version was really good for a while. Like, please, just stop with the Olm favoritism, please. But yeah, Brave Olm is not really amazing. Threat and attack speed can be good, but in a lot of cases, the speed is not really that helpful. Or it only really helps for certain specific units that have problem with their speed, and allows them to catch up on it. It's a bit awkward to use, and I think Threat and Attack Def is the overall better choice, 100%. Which is why I went for Threat and Attack Def on my gem key. I mean, why would I want Threat and Attack Speed? My gem key has literally 51 speed with a Brave Bow, you know? But in a lot of cases, it's really only good when you have a unit who has like a base of, say, 40 speed and is ranged. Double threaten skills tend to be a lot better on ranged units, because range allows you to be one square further away from the enemies, which makes it a bit easier for you to just shoot down a unit and be away of danger. So there's already this. But also, the other fact is, if you're a melee unit, you have to just kind of jump in. Unless you have something like, I think it's Close Call, which allows you to do hit and run. You're kind of in a weird spot where you'll just be in danger from the other mobs anyway, and the other mobs are not debuffed. So yeah, it's definitely a lot better on range units. Honestly, as far as this legendary banner goes, I would say just do not summon on this. I know I'm super late and most people will have already summoned on this, but I would genuinely just say do not summon on this. Also in general, if you want my opinion about should I summon on X banner, you can just ask me on Discord. I have Discord for a reason, you can just tag me, it's fine. But yeah, as I was trying to get to, Red is not worth summoning for. Altina has no fodder. Alm has fodder, but it's really only good on specific units. Roy is good fodder, bad unit. So really, like, you have 1 chance out of 3 of getting good fodder, and all 3 of these units are not really needed as far as unit goes because Altina is given for free. As far as blue is concerned, Peony is given for free, so there's that. That's like the one good unit of the bunch. Tiki and Fjorm are decent at high merges, but the thing is, they're not exactly, like, required. Bold Fighter is on, like, literally, like, 10 armored unit at this point, I think. It's ridiculous. So, like, most of the fodder of blue is not very good. And then you go in green, Flashing Blade 4 is good fodder, Attack Respawn 4 is amazing, Ground Order is also amazing. But you only have one good unit in this, which is Micaiah. Trezier is still a good one-off, as I've said before, mostly for AA. Especially now that we have the filter that allows you to just separate, or rather filter units based on season. You don't have to use the heart thingy to just base like, okay, this is fire, this is earth, this is wind, this is water, and then just individually distribute the blessing and heart color for that. That's what I did personally, and I was never able to use Astra, Light, or Dark Hero, any of this. I could not use them because I don't have tags for them. I did not have enough heart system to actually just do Light, Dark, Astra, Anima. So I was never able to use them. Now I'm actually able to use them, so I can actually say she's a good one-off as a result. So yeah, there's that. As far as colorless goes, Bramimond's really the only thing you want here. Camilla can be good fodder for you know, healers. That said, it's very awkward because for some reason attack speed push 3 is still not in the pool. We have attack res push 3, but not 4. But not attack speed or attack def or anything of the sort in the pool. And by pool I mean like 3 to 4 star unit. Brady has attack res push 3. So that means that you can't just give Raffle Staff an attack speed push 4, which is fucking horrendous. So honestly, overall, none of the colors are really worth pulling for. I'd say green is the closest of being worth it because you have good fodder on Trezier. She's a good one-off. Micaiah is a good unit overall. And Mamori, I guess, can work somewhat in AA. I say very much like somewhat because personally I would never use her in AA because the main unit I can think of that are blue are Legendary Crom, and Legendary Crom would just tear her apart in a lot of cases unless you go like Def Plus and have a lot of support. In a lot of cases he's just gonna have to sturdy impact, hit you, you'll fail to double because your speed is trash, then he's gonna just get dance and kill you off. Amazing. Like, I'm talking by experience, don't you worry. Armored units are not the solution for Crom. At least in a high level. And then colorless probably the second best. And then red because bonus doubler, and then blue. In general, I would just say y'all should just not summon on this. Wait for next month. We literally have Legendary Alm and Legendary Leaf on the same banner. Both of which are really good units. 4-star unit will be demoted to 3-star by then as well, which is fucking great. That means Echidna will be available if you're summoning green. Mercedes merges will be easier. Tedis merges will be easier. There's literally no reason to summon on this when you know that much. And another thing, for those who care, Golden Week is apparently early May this year. It's not at the end of April, it's early May. This is worth mentioning because Golden Week is typically something that's used in gacha games to have a lot of packs. So potentially there would be pack with 5-star unit you may want in them. Next month, that is. I thought it was worth mentioning, but yeah. So it might just be better to save your orbs. This banner is kind of horrendous. While Bramimond is a good unit, it's just not worth going for. In conclusion, I was way too late and I definitely should have recorded this way sooner. But, well, it's finally out. I will just be completely honest though. Boy, before I worked on this video, I was like, ah, that's not a bad banner. And then I just look at the characters and I'm like, holy hell, what is this? Why are they so bad? Why are they so bad? Holy crap. Oh well. It is what it is. Not much you can do about this. So, yeah. Those were my thoughts about the banner. Hopefully this was at least informative considering how late it was, but yeah. I don't have anything else to say here, so I'll be leaving you all. Have a nice one, everyone. See you all in the comment section or on Discord. Have a nice one.